Hi guys, this is Mrs. Allison, and today what we're going to look at is continuing that idea of slope, but this time we're going to work backwards, kind of create a puzzle that enables us to find a missing piece if we know the slope. So, before we begin, let's review the formula to be able to find slope from 2 points. You just got done working on that activity with all the tic-tac-toes, so let's review that. If we talk about slope, we know slope is the change in y over change in x. And remember, we talked about change meaning subtraction. And so the change in y would be y2 minus y1. Why do we give those different names? So we can distinguish which y is which. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We know that's what slope equals. We know slope is the change in y over change in x, and change means subtraction. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Sometimes we have to complete a problem that doesn't have all the information that we need. So for example, this first one says, if the slope of the line passing through the points -5, 6, and 5y is -4/5, find y. Okay, so it's telling me what the slope is. So I'm going to use this formula that we just talked about, and I'm going to give names to each of my values. I'm going to call one y1, one y2, one x1, x2. So let's give names to these. Let's see, let's call this first one x1. That means 6 would be y1. And let's call this second point 5. Let's call it x2, which means this y is actually y2. So when I go to fill out the slope formula, we would say that slope equals y2, which is y, minus y1, which is 6, over x2 minus x1. Remember, this can be a little bit tricky because we have to remember the formula says minus. This minus right here is part of the slope formula. And then the x1 happens to be a -5 as well. So I also need to include a negative with that 5. Okay, so let's do the math. Well, the problem is I don't actually know y minus 6. So we're just going to simplify this to be y minus 6 over 5 minus -5, which is 10. Well, this is the formula for slope. But guess what? I know what the slope is. We were told that this has to equal -4/5. Okay, what kind of problem did we just create? Do you notice that this is 1 fraction equals 1 fraction? What type of problem is 1 fraction equals 1 fraction? This is a proportion. And we know how to solve proportions. How do we solve proportions? Remember, we need to cross multiply. So we multiply the y minus 6 times the 5. And remember, I need to keep parentheses around the y minus 6 equals, and then I'm going to multiply the 10 times the -4. Great. So now let's do the math. This proportion means we need to distribute. So we get 5y minus 30 equals -40. Okay, let's bring this up here because I kind of ran over room. 5y minus 30 equals -40. All right, it's an equation. Now I just solve. I need to get y by itself. So using inverse operations, I'm going to add 30 to both sides. And we get 5y equals, that will be -10. Because -40 plus 30 is -10. I'm going to divide by 5. So we get y equals -2. So if this slope of the line that passes through those points is going to be negative 4/5, the y has to be negative 2. Okay, watch this. I'm going to bring in, let's see if this works. Okay, I'm going to bring in a graphing calculator. And what we're going to do is we're going to plot the 2 points. So the, the first point that was given was the ordered pair negative 5, comma 6. Okay, there it is. Negative 5, comma 6. So let's give that a label. And then let's graph the point that we think is the next point, which was the ordered pair 5, comma negative 2. That's the y value that we got. Okay, and I'm going to add a label to that one. And now, if I graph this line and I connect these 2 points. Oop, I didn't do a very good job of that. Let's try that again. There we go. And I connect these 2 points. And remember, I can find slope by going from left to right. And I calculate my rise. That's what happens as I go up or down. Up is positive, down is negative, and run, which is always to the right. So I'm going to start here at this leftmost point, and I'm going to count my rise. Well, my rise happens to be down, so it's down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, down 8, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Negative 8 over 10. But remember, for slope, we need to reduce the slope. So if I reduce negative 8 over 10, we get negative 4/5. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to find a y value that made that point give me the slope of negative 4/5. So it's perfect. Okay, I would like you to hit pause on the video and try example 2 with your seat partner and see what you come up with. And then when you think you have it, return to the video. Okay, so this says if the slope of the line is 2 and 2 points it passes through are negative 3, negative 2, and x6, find x. Okay, I'm going to label my points. x1, y1, x2, y2. And now I'm going to fill out my slope. We know slope is y2 minus y1. Don't lose those negative signs. Remember, this should be there. That's part of the formula. And y1 happens to be negative 2 over x2 minus x1. And it says the slope of the line is 2. How can I write 2 as a fraction? Because it's going to make my life easier if I write it as a fraction. 2 over 1. Okay, let's simplify the left-hand side as much as possible. If we simplify this, 6 minus negative 2 is 6 plus 2. X minus negative 3 is x plus 3, which equals 2 over 1. So we get 8 over x plus 3 equals 2 over 1. Again, I have a proportion. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to multiply the 8 times the 1. So we get 8 times 1. Let's draw it. Let's draw this. 8 times 1 equals, and then I'm going to multiply the 2. And remember, this x plus 3 is like being in parentheses. So 2 times x plus 3. I didn't really leave you guys enough room. Sorry about that. So this simplified, I get 8 equals 2x plus 6 when I distribute the 2 into both terms. Now let's solve. Negative 6. We get 2 equals 2x. Divide by 2. We get x equals 1. How'd you do? Okay. Finally, try the last problem. If a line passes through x2 and 6, 3, and the slope is negative 1/2, find x. So hit pause and try the last one. All right, here we go. Let's label this. Hopefully you feel good about this. I'm going to call this one x1, y1, x2, y2. So setting up my problem, y2, 3, minus y1, which is 2, over x2, which is 6, minus x, equals negative 1/2. That's my slope. So let's simplify. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus x doesn't simplify. Now I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to multiply the 1 by the 2, 1 times 2, and that's going to be equal to negative 1 times 6 minus x. Remember to put it in parentheses so we remember to distribute. So negative 1 times 6 and negative 1 times negative x. So we get 2 equals negative 6 plus x, and I'm going to add 6. And we get x equals 8. So the value of x is 8. Okay. If you need to, hit rewind or pause and watch this video again for more examples. Or in the Canvas page, there's also a couple other tutorials of another teacher or another teachers explaining the same idea with different problems. So take a second and watch those and see how you do. Have a great day.